Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls. It's more than practical. Here come the girls. Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life that's free, listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. I am one girl, and that is my husband eating in the background. So I'm moving my camera because God knows. Oh, so he's moving so that we can see him still. All right. Okay, so just stay where you were. And we are here today. Actually, he is going to be a guest on the show. As you can see, his head keeps coming in and out. It's just a little teaser there. Because Dr. Natasha has a child emergency. So all is well, but she is having to take care of business, as you know, down there in Australia. It is early in the morning, 8 o'clock, and she's got to go to the school and get some stuff done. So I'm here by myself. Hello. So, Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Here's what we do. We like to look at life and see the signs, read the signs, talk about what it means. You know, a lot of people think that it means, you don't do bad things, or you're a church girl if you go to church, and so you don't do anything that would be otherwise thought of as a sin kind of thing. But we like to bust all those stereotypes and trust and know that God is in everything and everywhere. And so we live from that place. So today, as I said, I'm going to have a guest, and I'm going to invite him to come on now. I left these glasses on because I think they make me look smarter. So I thought it would be fun since Dr. Natasha's here. This would help me feel more powerful.
Well, hello.
Welcome. Thanks for being here, and thanks for substituting as our producer. Our producer's also not here because he's off marrying people and rehearsing for a wedding. So love is in the air, and love is right here.
Hey, I thought you were wearing those glasses because you were going for a job or something. You know, they give you like a 90% better chance of getting the job.
If you wear glasses?
Yep.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind.
So what we like to do here first is talk a little bit about the week, what's been going on, see, how we can put a metaphysical twist on that. It was a big week with marches and all kinds of stuff. What was going on for you?
Well, I've been very interested in the whole bit about how much war is breaking out across our world. It's a little bit terrifying, and I keep looking at it going, there's something bigger here that I don't understand. There's something that we got to get rid of. It's kind of it's like an extreme version of what's happening in our country. Our country seems to be extreme, but we're not blowing things up as of yet. So, it's like this thing that has to bubble up and happen. I don't know. That's what I'm observing. What are you observing?
And did that percolate or blossom more for you with the whole No Kings stuff going on? No King protests?
Because we had all the protests about what's going on at the top in this country, and then other countries, Israel bombing Iran and Iran bombing Israel, and a lot of unrest, a lot of extreme movement.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah.
And the same thing here. We have the The transgender suicide hotline being shut down because only 2.5 million people used it in a couple of years. So it's not that important. Um, we have things that seem to be not unlike the two countries attacking each other. It's as if it's like it's an attack. It's not just a change, it's an attack.
Yep, there is a lot going on in the world. I was just having a conversation about that with somebody, and we were just talking about really how the whole transgender thing and transgender rights and the taking away services and the hotline and all that it it's just mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right or wrong. I mean, because it's not based on an issue really. I mean, I get that they're the people that are doing this don't like anybody that aren't exactly like them on some level,
Yes.
but it's just so mean. It's just so inhumane at this stage of the game. It feels like, to me, my personal belief, my personal opinion, not the views necessarily of New Thought Media Network, but
Well, it's vindictive. I think that's the feeling I get.
mm,
It's vindictive. We will show you. You do not have the power.
right.
We do. We have the power. And all of the all the insanity about how government should not be big, should not be interfering in your life. And the biggest things on the plate right now are deporting people regardless of their status, ignoring their rights, taking away other people's rights, and making sure that no states have abortion. I mean, those are all about controlling people. Those are all about the government intervening in people's lives.
It is an interesting time that we have said yes to.
Yes.
It is an interesting time. So, without going too far into that, because we could do the whole show on that, I want to thank Gil for being my guest today. Our topic is going to be around date night and
I'm sorry, I'm experimenting.
yeah,
I'll go back.
date night and the importance of spicing up your relationships. So, before we do that, what we generally do here on Girls Behaving Metaphysically is pull a card, and the card pull of the week. So I am going to give you two choices to choose from. I picked the medicine cards
Uh-huh.
or the ancestors path cards.
Ancestors path cards.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We'll see what that brings.
I'm not sure what that will bring. We haven't really used them. Wow, they have like a whole game board with it. Lord have mercy. You know what?
But
They may not have cards.
it may be a game of sorts.
It's a Native American oracle for seeking guidance from nature and spirit helpers. But you got to roll dice to find it. Wow. Okay, these are too complicated for today.
Okay.
So,
Well, we learned something new.
yeah, we've got a lot of cards here, but
Alright.
we haven't pulled from medicine cards in a while.
Okay.
We get stuck on our decks sometimes and don't give it a lot of variation. So let's see what we got. So I'm going to shuffle these cards.
Oh, I hope you do it better than you do when we play cards.
No guarantees. And you say when to stop.
Okay.
And this is basically for what is being called forth from us now. What is being called forth on the journey. Oh my God, did you take a comedy class from the last time I saw you?
Stop.
Okay. Okay. So the card that I pulled out was crow.
Crow.
Although Gil might think I pulled out dolphin because that's on the top of the deck and I had put it down when he said stop for the second time. So that might have been the first choice. But let's see what crow is here to tell us. I think crow, I don't know. I don't want to guess. Let's see. Crow. Law. All right, it says crow. Are you cawing? So I may know the secrets of balance within my soul. Or are you sending your sacred caw just to remind me of universal law? So there's a medicine story that tells of Crow's fascination with her own shadow. She kept looking at it, scratching it, pecking at it, until her shadow woke up and became alive. Then Crow's shadow ate her. Crow is dead. Crow now. Dead Crow is the left-handed guardian. If you look deeply into Crow's eye, you will have found the gateway to the supernatural. Crow knows the unknowable mysteries of creation and is the keeper of all sacred law. Okay.
Wow.
Since Crow is the keeper of sacred law, Crow can bend the laws of physical universe and shapeshift. This ability is rare and unique. Few adepts exit in today's world, and fewer still have mastered Crow's art of shapeshifting. This art includes doubling or being in two places at one time consciously, taking on another physical form, and becoming the fly on the wall to observe what is happening far away.
Huh. That's very interesting.
It is.
Very interesting.
So it says, if crow medicine appears in your card spread today, you must pause and reflect on how you see the laws of the Great Spirit in relation to the laws of humanity. It's kind of like what we were just talking about.
I was going to say, it seems very appropriate.
Right? Crow medicine signifies a first-hand knowledge of higher order of right and wrong than that indicated by the laws created in human culture. With crow medicine, you speak in a powerful voice when addressing issues that for you seem out of harmony, out of balance, out of whack, or unjust.
Wow.
Remember that Crow looks at the world with first one eye and then the other cross-eyed. In the Mayan culture, cross-eyed had the privilege and duty of looking into the future. You must put aside your fear of being a voice in the wilderness and call the shots as you see them. That's a lot.
Yeah. The first part was a little dark. But it's very interesting, the whole idea of bending the law, of being able to see beyond human law, beyond what we see, really.
Right.
That's what I heard.
Don't you think that's what we do all the time, though?
I think that's probably what we intend to do if we're walking a spiritual path and learning it, is to see beyond the appearance that's all around us, to begin to see what we know rather than know what we see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I felt that going back and forth today when we were talking about two different ways to approach a particular situation. I felt like one was seeing, knowing what we see, and another one is seeing what we know.
Yeah, I think so. Generally, we talk about, how it's affecting our week or, and I think, I do think that it has shown up a lot during the week and past weeks because we're being asked on some level to really stand in the unknown and clearly let go of what we think we see or our feelings about it in some level. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that what we've been seeing is a call to see beyond what we're seeing in the world. Because if we just evaluated life on what appears to be happening with bombs falling and people being discriminated against and making it legal to discriminate against people, that is horrible. And we have to know that there's something bigger happening. We have to look cross-eyed and see into the future.
Yeah, and I think that in our that's an overall global kind of picture, and in our own lives, where is that showing up? Like, is it in your finances? Is it, in our centers where we're lacking finances or lacking people support or whatever? How is that? How does that play into that?
Right. And asking ourselves the question, are those things true? Are we lacking anything? Are we, lacking anything in our personal life? Are we lacking things in our community life?
Right.
Are we seeing what we know is best? Or are we seeing what appears to be, and hanging on to that? I think there's a lot to that. And that's a very interesting line to walk, is to walk that line where we say, I don't believe what is in front of me particularly. And that sounds crazy, doesn't it?
It does. No, it does. And what it makes me think about is that we're living in a time where, the majority of people, let's just say over 21, for lack of a divider, have been trained or taught or saturated in a situation where we were taught to see what was in front of us. And now so many of us are unlearning that, knowing that there's more there that we can't see.
Well, we were taught to see what's in front of us and know and believe and see all the meaning that it held, all that it must be about, for us to come up with why is it there, what is it telling me, and the other side of it is, what am I going to believe is there? So what am I going to then bring forth that I can see? And it's a whole different way to function. It's a whole different way. And it creates interesting questions and possibilities within groups or families or relationships.
Yeah.
Particularly if one is more leaning one way or the other, or whatever the deal is.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So we just invite you to see how Crow shows up in your week. Like, where can you use that space of looking at what the law has there for you?
And looking for the bigger, the broader law, if you will, the spiritual law as opposed to the human law, and allowing yourself to see beyond.
Yep. This work is not for sissies. I'm just going to say that. It's powerful, and it's eye-opening and jaw-dropping and scary sometimes and safe sometimes and all of that. It's very, I think a real metaphysician is very vulnerable to the circumstances that they meet.
Well, I think somebody truly walking in a path, and as we say, walking in that path where we are being the light of spirit in what's happening. People that aren't viewing it that way can really be offended and upset by that.
Yeah.
And we have to make the choice as to whether we really believe that the path we're on is where we should be, or do we need to adjust for others? And I think the challenge is really to not adjust. In obviously we always make decisions and go, oh, maybe that's not exactly right. But in terms of when we know this is what I'm spiritually seeing, stay with that. And that's hard to do. I found that hard to do for myself. Or I find it hard to do.
Yeah, and I would encourage you and others in our audience to not take that on as hard,
Yep.
Is there a different way to put it? Is there a different way to look at it? It's exciting. It's fun. It's different. It's, whatever.
Well, I have to let go of my belief that somehow my survival depends on other people agreeing and liking me.
Oh, God, that's a whole show in itself. That's very true.
Yeah.
So, however crow comes to you, just take notice and see where a crow may show up on your lawn and what it's trying to tell you. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, my guest, Reverend Gil Olmstead, and I will be talking about spicing up your relationship and date nights and the power of all of those things. So we'll see you right back here in just a few minutes on New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls. It's more than practical. Here come the girls. Way more than merely factual. If you wanna know the secrets of a life, it's free. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
Hello, we are two girls. However, today we are only one, and it's me. I am Robyn Olmstead, and I am your hostess today. Ooh, and we are here we are going to talk about spicing up your relationship, and the power of date nights, and see what else comes up. So if you're out there and you want to join in the conversation, please do. Please feel free to ask any questions. My guest today, since Dr. Natasha is not with me, is Reverend Gil Olmstead. Welcome, Reverend Gil. He is also my significant other.
Hey, I brought something to spice things up. What do you think?
Oh, God. Okay.
So, just so you know, this was not her first choice for a guest.
That's not true. That's not true.
I'm kidding.
But the comedy routine, kind of iffy on that one. But it's okay. It's all good fun and good times. And this topic came up because we are going on a date night tonight. 23 years of marriage. I don't know how many date nights we've had, but I'm pretty sure I could count them on two hands.
I was going to say I'm pretty sure it's 23 or less.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we do fun things all the time, and
Right.
we go places and we do things. But is it a date night? No, would be my answer.
It does not qualify.
Does not qualify.
We, like you said, we do a lot of things. We do things with other people. We're involved in community activities. We go to conferences and go dinner with friends, and all those things where we spend hours and hours together. But we don't go on a date night. We don't spend time specifically for us that much.
So let's get your perspective on that, because I think I know you know the right answers or the good answers to say, but I mean, the date night isn't that important to you, right?
It hasn't been in the same way as it is for you, I think. Because, well, I don't know why exactly. Except that I think it's in part because I value the time I spend with you when I'm spending it with you with others, with other things in a different way. Or at least I assume it's a different way because I find it to be very satisfying in many ways.
Yeah, I find it to be satisfying too, but I think that there's something, I mean, there's something powerful about like if someone gives you a gift and they've taken time and thought out what to get you and what you're going to like and all those things, and they give you a gift, you appreciate it. Even if you don't love the gift, you appreciate their thought and all those things that went into it. And it's even better if you love the gift, right? And it's different than if they say, oh yeah, here's, a gift card, go get what you want. Not that that's bad. I appreciate gift cards as well. But you know what I mean? It's a different energy behind it. Or feels like it to me.
Yes, and I can see that. And sometimes, truly, the way we approach things like that, I'm really thinking that I'm offering choice and bandwidth in something for someone, as opposed to not thinking about what they want, because I know they want something, but I want them to make sure they get what they want, kind of thing. So, we all come at it slightly differently, and I think that's part of the date night thing. Um, besides the fact that it's really hard for me to make a plan for some dumb reason, and I don't know what that is exactly.
Well, and I think, I don't want to clump it into boys and girls and this and that,
But
but
why not?
but but I think that's part of the thing that happens for, whoever feels like that in the relationship. If one person feels like that, and generally it's a man, it just is. Sorry, it's not a criticism. I think that's because you guys are wired different. It's like men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? So I think that it there's a part of you that you feel as if you're doing the things that should um, give energy to the relationship anyway, by like fixing the toilet seat, or things like that. Whereas I'll speak for myself, it's like, yeah, that is great and I really appreciate it. And does it get me like warm and fuzzy and like excited like a date? Like a date, like do you even remember like back when you dated? Like when I was like before we got married and I was talking to you about the other girls that you were going out with, like it was exciting to think what might happen or where you should go or what they would think. It was exciting to bring that newness into your relationship, right?
Yes, and clearly, after you're in a relationship for a period of time, there's a belief that you know most of that, or you know what I mean. And so sometimes coming up with something you think is going to be fun and interesting and different is harder to do simply because you've done many things together.
Yeah, as we learned this week. Yeah, but yeah, but and I want to say, yeah, and that's what I'm hearing you say is your story around what you have to do to have a date night. I mean, to me, just having a space where it is a designated space to go out and to do something fun. And like we said earlier, to not talk all night about work, even if it slips in and out a little. For some couples, it might be to not talk at all about work. But all
to
of
not
that.
talk about the kids, or to not talk about going to see the grandkids necessarily, but to not talk about stuff, some of those other fun things that you do together with other people, but to really focus on each other. Is that correct? Kind of what you're thinking about in this process?
Yeah, yeah. Sort of. That you took it right out of my mouth.
I did, and I'm sorry for that.
It's okay. I think I was going a little different way, but I think it is important. I think all those things that you said are important. Um, but I was also thinking about, what does a date night bring in it? And I was looking at just an overview and, of what date nights are. So this is what AI says. Date nights are important for couples because they foster deep emotional connection, enhance communication, and contribute to a more satisfying and stable relationships. Regular date nights can help couples reignite passion, reduce stress, and build a stronger sense of commitment. And I think that's true because I don't know that it's that it has to be, super exciting or like, oh my God, we went bungee jumping. I think that it's really about just finding that space to talk to each other and to be. We talk to each other a lot, but it's primarily about, stuff that's going on in our life. Even last night, we ate dinner and we played a game at the same time. So really just being together, I think, and talking about whatever it's a different space. And it doesn't matter if you're just going to a movie. It doesn't have to always be, but you know, I am a big fan of the elements of surprise because I think also that helps spice it up and bring, um, different possibilities. You're spicing up a relationship. The more you have little surprises or different things, the better.
So, what would be what would be your definition of spicing up your relationship? I mean, what are you trying to accomplish there?
Get more energy, more openness, more communication going, flowing. Um, just I think like when we've been away or something and we have had time to be together. I think different things happen in the conversation that we would have or that we have. I mean, it could be. Um, I don't know. I mean, it could be about sharing fantasies. It could be about talking about goals that you want to create together or that you want to accomplish on your own so that your partner can support you. It's it, I think it takes the relationship to a different level of intimacy or rekindles that spark on some level. Because when you were first dating, you're like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite this? Why? How do you? Oh, you like that? I like that. And 20 years in or 10 years in, you're like, yeah, I know you like that. You know,
Yes, and I think that's a really interesting reality to look at. Um, that simply the amount of the better your relationship has been, so that the more you understand about one another, at some level, almost makes it harder to do some of this. And at the other side of it, it would make it easier because you'd be really clear about what you could do and how to work with them, what would really make them happy, what would,
and yes, and I don't think it's all about what makes them happy. I don't think it has to be so focused out there. Like, is there something you would like to see happen in our relationship? Like, do you ever wish we talked more about something else besides whatever? Or I don't know. I don't think it has to be like whatever. I mean, my love language is being creative and like putting notes around and finding surprises. I was thrilled the other day when you said to somebody, I've really been thinking that I want to get her a walking pool. I was like, oh my God, he's been thinking.
so, yeah, yeah,
But I mean, that was so exciting that you even said that. Or when you looked up and you were talking to Sherry and said, I'm talking about the place you want to go. You know, like I was like, oh, okay, well, you're doing something related to me. It doesn't really matter if I think it's the most romantic thing. It's creating a different level of, I don't know, of being together.
yeah. Whereas, um, when I get out of the car and say, "Oh, look, it's Ace Hardware over there. I need to go get those washers for under the sink."
Well, but you know what? I will tell you, as I told you that day. So Gil gets out of the car. He goes, "Oh, I'm going to go to Ace Hardware," while I was going to the market. And I sat there for a minute because I was looking at something else. And then I realized he was gone to Ace Hardware. I totally thought, oh, fun. We're going to go to Ace Hardware. We're going to walk around the hardware store and look at stuff. Because even that to me, like, like those days where we get lost in Costco or we're somewhere where we're like, oh, yeah, look at the curtains, look at the this, look at the that. And we're just talking and fantasizing and, oh, it'd be great to get that. So I was like kind of like taken aback because I was like not paying attention clearly, and I was like, he went without me. So it's not that it has to be. It's not even like for me. I'm speaking for myself. I know there are plenty of women who don't want to see the inside of Home Depot or Ace Hardware, or probably plenty of men. So equal, whatever. But I really think it's more of a consciousness about inclusion and about making it, about it being fun. Not that you have to think, oh, let's make Ace Hardware fun, but like, I don't know, if you're in that energetic of creating and being together, it doesn't really matter what you're doing.
Right. And so what's interesting and what I'm hearing is that, first of all, I didn't know you thought you felt a little left out, that you need to go. And I think it's really interesting that that's the direction you went with that. Because for me, I'm totally thinking that I have taken care of stuff around the house. I'm on it. I'm keeping track of what needs to happen. I'm not spending extra time away, And what clicks for you is I didn't invite you in the store.
No. I didn't say that. And now we can replay this and you'll see. I didn't say, oh, he didn't invite me. It's not that I felt not invited or left out. I just, when you said, let's go, I'm going to go to Ace Hardware, in my mind, I was like, oh, cool, let's go to Ace Hardware. Because I'm thinking we're together. I'm not saying you weren't thinking, I'm going to go to Ace Hardware, you go to the market, so we split up and don't spend as much time. I know there's always a logical reason. I didn't take it personally. I wasn't sad. I wasn't hurt. I'm just saying I was aware that I was sitting there waiting, thinking about other things. And I was like, oh, he's not coming. I thought you were at the trunk or something. I don't know what I thought. And, you weren't there. So it's not what you just said. I don't want you to think that it wasn't.
No, but what I want to point out though is that my using that as an example led to you using it as an example, and they were two totally different examples.
So say more about that.
Of what it means to surprise, to take care of, to be in the relationship, to do things unexpectedly or whatever, because there's just a lot of things that need to be done in this world that require time and energy, and sometimes it feels like there isn't time and energy. Do you ever feel that way? There isn't time and energy to do something else special, to put together something that's going to carve out a chunk of time?
It's a good question. I don't know that I do, because the things that are important to me are important to me, and I mean, I think not putting any good or bad on this, but it's like, I think that I've cut out doing the normal things that I would do in this relationship, because that I'm a little note leaver, or a little surprise here, or a little something there, and I think that I've, kind of toned that down, just because I figure you don't really like it because you don't really match it, or whatever, or whatever. But I mean, it doesn't, I don't know. That's a whole different topic.
That's really interesting, because I think we get stuck on that sometimes, that the other person doesn't match our things that we like to do, or the things that we think are important to honor our relationship, right? And it's okay that you don't always think ahead to all the things that need to get done. Well, we have this to fix, and that needs to happen, and I need to get this bill paid, and that happened. Sometimes, though, I might feel as if you don't match my care for the relationship, because that doesn't happen. And you said the same thing about, you know, being playful in essence, and surprising and doing things. And I don't do that back in the same way. Doesn't mean I don't like it though. Doesn't mean I don't think it's good for the relationship,
Well, and
but I don't necessarily match it.
so let me just say to that, and because you don't necessarily match it, not that, and I really want to be clear that this is not an always situation. I think you're really good at some other things you do, and no, I'm
And not so
serious.
good at some of the others.
No, but I'm not making a joke about it. I really think it's, you know, um, I don't know. It's important. It's important. But I think that, it's a, unfortunately, it's a circle, right? So
Mhm.
if I'm not feeling that, well, then I let go of the things that may be important to you on some level, like, oh, whatever, he's doing the bills, so I don't need to know, you know? And in all fairness about that, there was a time where you were like, I'm doing the bills. That's it. And you were like, I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden it's gone to this place where you're like, well, I'm not doing that one. So we've never had like a clear conversation, to I don't feel to warrant that. You know what I mean? I think so, which brings me to communication, which I think is also the crux of date nights. It's communication. It's a place where you get to sit and be and communicate. Yeah, you may go to a movie, but you may go out for coffee after the movie and talk about the movie instead of going to bed, you know?
So is it valuable on date night to be talking about those things in your relationship that need to be communicated, if you will?
It's a good question.
I mean, does that end up adding to the date night, or does that
I think
take away?
I think it depends how you do it. I think it's debatable. If you're really talking about it, if you're really sharing and talking, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you're trying to be right and tell somebody what they're doing wrong or not doing,
Right.
then that's going to take away from the whole night.
Right.
It's going to.
If you're walking in to tell somebody what's wrong, that's different than having a discussion about this is what's happening. You know, I think about what you said about bills, and it has changed. And part of that's because you've acquired more cards, etc., and some of those are tied to your particular accounts. And so I'm just like, hey, you've taken that on. That's my opinion, and we haven't really talked about it. But I'm just saying, it's not a right or wrong. It's a, the thing has shifted some over time, and that's true of everything. Everything shifts over time, and we have to be clear about how things are running.
Yeah. So then the question becomes again, and you said it, we haven't really talked about it. So the question becomes communication. So I think that on date night, as we said before tonight, let's not talk a lot about work. It's really impossible to say no work right now at this particular stage because so much of our life is work. And but I think if you have that space where you can have communication, then you're going to talk about these things more freely. You know, I think that's one of the reasons, when we talk about the time we talked about finances at a coffee shop because we couldn't do it without fighting and blah, blah, blah. So we went to a coffee shop and it was great. We went through it. We didn't get mad. We didn't have our, feelings. I think some of it has to do with that spaciousness of like really being able to say what you need, to say what you feel, to say what you want without making the other person wrong, but just to be like, hey, how do you see this? Or
Well, what I'm hearing is that really the date night concept, the spending time where you are focused on one another in a relationship, is what can enhance the ability to communicate in positive ways. And so we can sit down at some other time and talk about X, Y, or Z.
Yeah,
You know?
I think
And I think that's what you're talking about is enhancing the relationship in terms of allowing each other to continue to see the value in one another and to then be able to communicate in a loving way.
yeah, I think it strengthens the bonds. It gives you that space to strengthen your marriage bond and your friendship bond and your return to a place, you know, not us. Many marriages, many partnerships, many long-term relationships don't like each other the way they used to, you know. And I think part of that is, that they've eliminated the things they like to do together, and I think having that space where you go back to doing fun things, or um, just opening up those portals of communication, that leads us to the strengthening of our relationship through just, even again, doing it from an energetic standpoint. The energy of a date night, or the energy of going, this is our time where we're going to have fun together. It eliminates stress. It can reignite romance. It can up your commitment. All of those things happen. And as far as sex goes, so as far as sex goes, I don't know about men or other women. I'm only going to speak for me, but that's where it all starts. It's like, if you can't get me wet between the ears, you're not going to get me anywhere else, you know? And it's really just having that connection that begins that journey to more intimacy, more love, more ways of being for me. I don't know. How about you?
I hear you. Yes. Yeah. I think that's the idea. I think the concept of spicing up your relationship is to add um, add in the fun, add in the communication, add in those things. And those are the spices. Those are the things that bring flavor to the relationship. And then, of course, you enjoy the relationship in a different way.
Yes. So we have about 2 minutes left. Oh, hi, kids. I think they just came in from a date. See the tails wagging? Um, what would you say would be the perfect date night for you?
For me,
Yeah. If I was taking you on a date, what would be your perfect date night?
I don't know. And that's kind of my issue. I'm not very good at that.
You know, I would feel sorry for you, except that we live in this world with the World Wide Web. There's absolutely nothing that, if you don't know it, you can't ask AI a question, or you can't find it. I just Googled, uh, I Google something about date nights, and I got, 37 great things to do in Albuquerque. So there's so many ways to find ideas. And I think, if you don't know, and I'm saying this to listeners, if there really is a space where you don't know, then maybe it's time for you to reconnect with your passions. And again, because as we know, it always comes back to us. Like, what are you passionate about? What would be fun? And it could just be a little thing, and it doesn't matter if it's, going to look at motorcycles. Okay. Maybe then you take a walk, you go to look for motorcycles, you get a cocktail, or you get an ice cream cone, or whatever it is. It's really about those baby steps. And it's not that it's only about you. I mean, obviously, you're thinking about your partner and all that stuff too. But it's really not about what you do as much as the quality time you have together.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would agree. I will just tell you that I think it for me, one of the things is nature. I like to be in nature. I like to see stuff. I like to be places where there aren't a bazillion other people. You may find kind of comical, but
No, but see, first of all, I know you and I knew you when you had much more energy for this stuff. So I know that it's in you. It's just that I believe there's, you know, some hesitation about doing things because you don't want people not to like it. But like I was thinking about that answer for me, and my answer would be, a perfect date night or date outing would be like just going and having a picnic, on the beach and sitting and talking and drinking wine and chatting and eating appetizers, whatever, or going to a winery or whatever, and then having a picnic and sitting outside. I was thinking about the great wineries in Sonoma, how you could sit out at the tables and look at the rolling hills and different things like that. And it's really, yeah, sometimes it's work. You gotta figure it out. But I think it's well worth it. And as we've said on numerous shows, because we have one on Wednesdays called Rockin' the Love, it's an inside job. You got to start with yourself and find your passions and what you love in order to love somebody else, right?
yeah.
Well, we actually have a date night scheduled tonight, and it's like the first one in I don't know how long. But we're very excited. So we are going to go get ready for our date night. And we know that I think it involves dinner and maybe a movie or something. And we'll see how it goes. So I just invite you, and if you don't have a significant other, take yourself on a date. Whether you go to the museum, whether you go somewhere you're passionate about, out to a new restaurant, whatever it is, find a way to honor yourself and celebrate you because you're worth it. So that's it for this week from me and Dr. Natasha and our producer, Michael Mangus, and our special guest, Reverend Gil Olmstead. We're just sending out the love and inviting the whole world on a big, giant date night. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.